Namaste. I'm going to continue. Question. Why do you want a negative harvest? Hidden hand answer. It's complicated. It's complicated. It's complicated to put into words, and I also must be careful with what I say on this. I've already had a slap on the wrist, you could say. Right. If we don't have a negative harvest, we're bound with you for another cycle. Once this great harvest is completed, our contract with the Council and our Creator is also completed. In other words, we have done our duty and would be free to return to our fullest expression, that of 6th, nearly 7th density galactic guardians, and ones who joyfully offer ourselves in service to the one infinite Creator and to our brothers and sisters across the galaxy. However, there's a problem. Well, you would call it a problem. We call it a problem. They call it a challenge. I will address this later in more detail in response to another question, but in short, we need a very high percentage of negative polarity if we are to achieve a negative harvest. In other words, we have to be self-service centered to an extreme degree in order to become negatively harvested. This is why we work so hard to be as negatively polarized as we can possibly be. If we don't make a high enough percentage, we will miss out and we will end up with the majority lukewarm percentage that have to go through another cycle in 3rd density. By attaining a negative harvest, we can still graduate to 4th density, only it will be a negative polarity planet. Not a great place to be. But as I've stated previously, we, as a soul group, have incurred the natural karmic restitution process that we must work off for all the negativity we have caused upon this planet. We will do this for a cycle in our 4th density world, and then we will be free to once again be the glorious being of light that we truly are. We need a negative harvest so that we can create our 4th density Earth and clear our karmic record. Understand that we have to be negative. That's what we were sent here to be. It's our contract, and it has always been to help you by providing the catalyst I spoke of earlier. Being negative is very hard for us, not on a physical level, but on a spiritual level. It's hard. And he says in brackets, the characters we play enjoy our roles as we're programmed that way. We surpassed the lowly negative vibrations eons ago. We are the light and we are love. It is a very hard thing for us to do spiritually, to create all this negativity, but we do it because we love you, and it is for your highest good ultimately. You could say that it is our sacrifice that we have made in order to be of service to the one infinite Creator and to you, our brothers and sisters in the One. Remember, we are all just acting out a grand old game here, where we agree to forget who we really are, that in the remembering that we may find each other again and know that we are one, that all of life is one. Question. I must correct you here. The precession of the equinoxes cannot cause this. It cannot cause anything other than the way in which we on Earth view the cosmos around us. It concerns the wobble of the Earth's axis, and as far as I know, does not relate to any other planetary bodies. Hidden hand answer. From a 3rd density perspective, you are correct. It appears that way. We do not look from a 3rd density perspective. There is a bigger picture at work that you cannot see. Question. Regarding our enslavement, you seem to be saying essentially that as fractions of our Logos, Yahweh, we are equally responsible for this decision to keep us trapped here on our 3rd density planet Earth. That's an interesting thought. In that sense, our total freedom must arrive through a collaborative spiritual effort. Hidden hand answer. From a certain perspective, what you say is correct. From a 3rd density view, you see yourselves as being separate from everything. From a higher perspective, you see that that is not at all the case. You and your Creator are one. As to your statement on total freedom, you are not responsible for those around you. You and they are all one too, when seen from a higher density. But in this density, you are here to work upon yourself. You are here to remember who you are and why you are here. You are here to remember the infinite Creator, to know your Creator within you, and to offer your service to Him and others of your own free will choice to serve. When you remember who you are and you know it deep within the core of your being, you will know and recognize your invisible connection to all that is, and in so doing, joy and thanksgiving and service will be the natural outpouring result from your grateful heart. When you work upon yourself and learn to know the Creator within you, being of service to others will not be natural for you, and your glorious harvest shall await. Question. One thing I don't get, and perhaps you can explain this to me, is why those who belong to Lucifer and Lucifer himself do not fight for freedom of all souls. If Lucifer represents liberty, freedom, and of will and knowledge, why do those who serve him not do as the biblical Lucifer did and rebel against the tyranny of the elders? Hidden Hand answer. This is a very good question, thank you. I will split it into 2 parts and answer the second part after this. Firstly, the Council of Elders are the absolute opposite of tyrannical. They are the wise and loving guardians of our galaxy. There is so much that one cannot understand from only a 3rd density perspective. When you reach higher densities, you see that ultimately everything balances and there is only unity. All else than unity is illusion, or thought form. The Council gave us a set of choices. We chose to stay here to help you, despite the cost to ourselves. That is the nature of loving service to others. The ultimate paradox in all this is that in this storyline we are co-creating together in order for us to be the most of service to you. We must be utterly self-serving. The ultimate paradox in all this is that in this storyline we are all co-creating together. In order for us to be the most service to you, we must be utterly self-serving. I do so love our creator's sense of irony. As to the first part of your question, the biblical depiction of war in heaven is not entirely inaccurate. Our initial contract was to introduce the catalyst for free will on this planet. When Yahweh initially began discourse with the Council of Elders, he was not initially looking for help with introducing free will, but rather for guidance on how we could best speed up his and his inhabitants' evolutionary process. As I mentioned, he was running a benign dictatorship. We had at that time just completed an assignment in Tau Ceti and had reported for our next duties. We, as Group Soul Lucifer, were sent on a fact-finding expedition, as it were, to visit Earth and meet with Yahweh to evaluate his planetary creation laws and make suggestions on how he could help his offspring. This is the term I shall use to describe the souls who compromise the Group Soul, and thusly Yahweh to progress. We explored many options and reported our findings to the Council and to Yahweh. It was our best evaluation that the only real and fast-track way to increase his involvement meaningfully was to the introduction of free will. It was not specifically the implementation of free will that Yahweh wanted help with. It was simply the introduction of a catalyst. He was not at all pleased with our report that he needed to implement free will. He was happy with his little pet paradise, and he didn't want to lose control of it. In the end, the council persuaded him that it was the best way, and he reluctantly agreed. We returned to Earth and had a cordial meeting with Yahweh, discussing how we could best implement the free will option. Yahweh was adamant that his offspring would choose to be loyal to him anyway, and that they were so content with their way of life that they would always trust him and do what he says is best. That, he said, was the main reason that free will would not work well as the catalyst. That's why he agreed to the experiment of the Tree of Knowledge. He believed it would prove him right. When it did not, he became angry, threw his toys out of the pram and his offspring out of the garden, and laid a big guilt trip on them about how they had broken his trust and disobeyed him. That's not really an honorable way for a Logos to behave, but hey, that's the beauty of free will, I guess. Next problem to occur was that his offspring were so grateful to us for his help that Yahweh became, in his own admission, a jealous God. Then we had the whole "you shall not have no other gods than me" thing. We were not pleased with the situation at all, as the Logos should not be behaving like this with his offspring. They are one, after all. When we attempted to leave the planet to return to the Council, Yahweh prevented our departure. We tried to leave again, and were then thrown down into the astral planes and confined therein. The Council ordered us to be released, but said we would have to cancel our contract to help the souls on Earth to evolve. We didn't want to leave. We found them very likable beings, really positively polarized, and we wanted to stay to help. We just wanted also to be free to come and go as we pleased. The only way we could stay was to stay confined as a soul group, which meant cycles of incarnation for us as individual souls, which we had not done for a long while. As I've stated before, there is no wrong or right seen from a higher density, but there are still consequences for every action. Such is the law of karmic effect. The contract had already been made between Yahweh, us, and the Council for us to provide the catalyst, so we had a right to be there. The karmic effect of Yahweh imprisoning us on the macroscopic level was that his individuated souls would be imprisoned on the microscopic level. The infinite creator gave Yahweh and all the gift of free will to create as we choose, but the karmic effect of his choice was the council quarantining of the planet. A certain evolutionary level is required to be a functioning part of a positive, unified galactic society. As for fighting for the freedom of all souls, remember that ultimately this is a game that we are all playing here. We are actors playing on the stage of life. This world is all an illusion or thought form. No one really dies, and no one is really hurt. In between carnations, you know this very well, but the rules of the game ensure that you must forget who you really are so that you believe it is all real whilst you are playing the game of life. That is an essential prerequisite when you are making choices. Otherwise, the game would be too easy. This world is not reality, though we can express reality in it if we so choose. Question. Okay, so your family and fellow elites might be as entrapped in the earthly realm as we are, but why actively propagate and aid the forces of enslavement? Hidden hand answer. Because that is the part we have been contracted to play in this game. In order to win, or more accurately, to be successful in, the game, we must be as negatively polarized as possible. Service to self in the extreme. Violence, war, hatred, greed, control, enslavement, genocide, torture, moral degradation, prostitution, drugs, and all these things, plus more. They serve our purpose in the game. The difference between us and you in the game is that we know that we are playing. The less you know about the game and the less you remember that you're a player, the more senseless living becomes. In all these negative things, we are providing you with tools, but you do not see it. It's not what we do, but how you react to it that's important. We give you the tools. You have the free will choice. You have the free will choice how you will use them. You have to take responsibility. There's only one of us here. Understand that and you will understand the game. Question. Something I found extremely interesting is the concept of the grand age of procession being split into 5,125 year cycles. 3,113 BC, the beginning of the current sub-age, was a time of great activity. Is the construction of stone monuments in Western Europe, the Middle East, and Egypt at this time related to the recognition of the cycle? What was the purpose of Britain's stone circles and Egypt's pyramids? There are more than mere markers of an eon change. They must have had some enormous significance. Actually, something I'd most like to know is, were the builders of these monuments members of the enslaved masses who were trying to understand the nature of existence? Or were the builders members of your elite bloodline? Hidden hand answer. Yes, there is a significance in these occurrences according to space-time of their happenings. The group soul complex Ra was the architect of these structures. They were created from thoughts. When one understands and sees that all is an illusion or thought, one can use the force to manipulate the illusions. All things, seen and unseen, are interconnected life force energy. Once you know what the magician knows, it's not magic. It's a tool of creation. Question. It's your kind that has ruined this world, thinking of yourselves as higher than anyone. If I saw you in real life, it wouldn't be pretty. Hidden hand answer. You lack understanding, not to mention eloquence. To understand higher, try thinking outside the box for a moment. If I'm walking along the ground and you're flying above me in an airplane, does that make you better than me? No, it just makes you higher than me. Question/comment. I will see you in hell. Hidden hand answer. Be careful what you wish for. All thoughts and words are creative. Question. If Yahweh is a positive polarity entity, how is he wrathful and jealous? Hidden hand answer. Does Yahweh have free will? Would you like to think of yourself as reasonably positive? Can you still be wrathful and jealous at times? Is Yahweh a macrocosm of you? Question. Have there been over time other entities pretending to be Yahweh? Hidden hand answer. On occasion, yes. Question. I would like to know, how do we choose a service to others, positive path, over a service to self, negative? Is this statement correct? In order to choose the positive path, at least 51% of our thoughts and actions must be dedicated to the service of others. For the negative path, at least 95% must be self-serving. Between the two lies the sinkhole of indifference. Hidden hand answer. Your statement is correct. So you see how hard we must strive for negativity? It takes a lot of effort to reach 95% negativity. Also, you may be surprised how many people on the planet are nowhere near reaching 51% positive. Question. How do you choose a service to others path? Hidden hand answer. Be good to yourself. Cultivate a genuine love for life and for being. Be genuinely thankful to the infinite creator every day for bringing you into being and for his bountiful provision. You have survived this far, have you not? You may not have everything you want, but you have everything you need in order to complete that which you incarnated here to do. Give thanks for that. Show acknowledgement and gratitude to the infinite creator for all that it has done and is doing for you. It has given you the gift of life experience and offered you free will to decide what you will create with it. Guard your thoughts carefully, as they are more powerful than you may imagine. When you are coming from a place of love for and service to your Creator, a life of service to others will become a natural outflowing from that. Always look for ways that you can be of assistance to your fellow beings, beings of encouragement to others. Build people up, don't bring them down. Be a beacon of light in a dark world. Does that old lady need a hand with her shopping bags? How do you treat the homeless man who asks you for some spare change for the shelter? Ever heard about angels in disguise? Look and see the divine spark in the heart of all beings. Treat them as you would like to be treated yourself, and as you would your Creator if he was speaking directly with you. For even as you are doing it to the last of these, you are doing it unto me. The law of radiation and attraction. Your thoughts, words, and actions return to you. Ultimately, cultivate a spirit of humble gratitude. You won't go far wrong with that. Desire to serve flows naturally from a grateful heart. Question. If we live with a service to others philosophy in order to achieve oneness with the infinite source, isn't that really service to self? How is the distinction of negative and positive polarity made? Hidden hand answer. You do not serve others to achieve oneness with the infinite source. You serve others because you love them as yourself. Others are extension of yourself. That's why the law of attraction works the way it does. Truly, whatever you are doing to me, you are doing to yourself. We are all one in the infinite creation. Separation is an illusion. Because you only see what is in the third density, you do not see the whole picture. We achieve oneness with the infinite source of all as a result of our upward spiral of progression. We are all on the path back to where we came from. We are all on our way back home.